Hello everyone, myself Zubair and I'll be continuing the discussion on the Checkpoint product line and which has been renamed or rebranded as Quantum. And I have a slide. We will go through this slide and we will be sharing this in the resource section. You can download this and go through the slide again if you need. But let's start with the discussion here. So the Checkpoint has renamed this as Quantum, the product line, and we are basically looking into the network security part. Right, so if you look into this Checkpoint network security, they basically have all these product lines. So Checkpoint has the Infinity architecture, then they have the next gen um, threat prevention appliances. They have the security gateways, which are the firewalls. Then they have the virtual appliances, um, and they have the management appliances, which are called the SMS, and also the um, DDoS protectors. They have a separate appliance which basically deals with only DDoS protection. They have the sandblast appliances as well. We will be walking through all the types of models and the differences between them feature wise. And then we have the proven security slide at the end uh, of this slide. Let's move forward. So the first thing I want to go quickly through the background why we need the security as of now, right? As the world becomes more connected and networks continue to evolve, securing the IT networks is becoming more complex than it once was. We are now facing the sixth generation of cyber attacks, which are basically large scale attacks that quickly spreads and moves across attack vectors and industries. And these Gen 6 attacks or cyber attacks are more sophisticated than the earlier version, which was the Gen 5 attacks. Now they are crossing mobiles, clouds, and networks and bypassing conventional defenses that are based on detection. Now we need something more sophisticated solution to handle these sophisticated attacks, right? And the solution here is the Checkpoint Infinity. And this is the only fully consolidated cybersecurity architecture that protects your business and IT infrastructure against the Gen 6 mega cyber attacks across all networks, endpoints, clouds, and mobile. The architecture is basically designed to resolve the complexities of growing connectivity and inefficient security. It provides complete threat prevention, which seals security gaps, enables automatic, immediate threat intelligence sharing across all security environments, and a unified security management for an utmost efficient security operation. Checkpoint Infinity delivers unprecedented protection against current and potential attacks today and in the future. Now, if you go through this chart, basically, uh, now this basically defines the history how these attacks have evolved, right? In 1990s we had the Gen 1 attacks, which are the viruses, and for that we had the antivirus protection. In 2000, the network attacks, which are the Gen 2, that started, and we had the mitigation for them was the firewall. And Gen 3 application attacks started in 2010, and we had the IPSs. And then later on, 2015, we have the payload attacks, and that the solution for that was behavior analysis. In 2018, the Gen 5, which are the multi-vector attacks, and we started, and we had the multi-vector prevention system there. Now in Gen 6, it is, I mean, it's the attack surface has extended to everything now. Now what we need is something called as the nano security in 2021. Now next gen threat prevention is one of the features that Checkpoint Firewall provides. Checkpoint Firewall comprehensive threat prevention, the rapid growth of malware, growing attacker sophistication, and the rise of new unknown zero-day threats require a different approach to keep enterprise networks and data secure. Checkpoint delivers fully integrated, comprehensive threat prevention to combat these emerging threats while reducing complexities and increasing operational efficiencies. Right. So for that we have the Checkpoint zero-day prevention. Right. As part of the Checkpoint Sandblast zero-day protection solution, the cloud-based threat emulation engine detects malware at the exploit phase only, even before hackers can apply evasion technique attempting to bypass the sandbox. Then the files are quickly quarantined and inspected, running a virtual sandbox to discover malicious behavior. before it enters your network. This innovative solution combines cloud-based CPU level inspection and OS level sandboxing to prevent infection from the most dangerous exploits and zero-day and targeted attacks. Furthermore, Sandblast threat extraction removes exploitable content in email and web, including active content and embedded objects, reconstructs files to eliminate potential threats, and promptly delivers sanitized content to user to maintain business flow. Now, if you want to see the whole picture of the features that the checkpoint has, this is what it is, and this is how it looks like, right? You have the sandblast part where it has two features. You can see the threat emulation and the threat extraction, which basically mostly deals with the zero-day attack side of it. Then you have the URL filtering, which is embedded in the firewall, and then VPN. These are all the features or the blades that you can enable in the firewall. You have the anti-bot feature, you have the firewall, you have the data loss prevention, you have the IPS, you have the anti-spam, app control, identity awareness, and the antivirus. So this is the whole picture of the features that you will get in the solution. Now, what Checkpoint calls the firewalls is security gateways, right? Checkpoint provides customers of all sizes with the latest data and network security protection in an integrated next generation threat prevention platform, reducing complexities and lowering the total cost of ownership. Whether you need next generation security for your data center, enterprise, small business, or home office, Checkpoint has a solution for you. So based on the type of infra you have, you can go with that particular line of products from Checkpoint. So they have products for every need throughout the IT industry, right? So for example, if you want to go for the scalable platforms, which are used by the data centers or the telco or the carriers, which are called the Maestro, they come in 4 RU form factors and up. As you can see in the image, you have the 4 rack units here, and it can scale accordingly. Then you can have um, 10 10 10 140 100 Gbps interfaces. Then you have throughput. It can go up to 1500 Gbps. Threat prevention, right? Special features, you can have DC power, active clustering, etc. Now for the data center users, or the type of data centers, what kind of deployment you have, these are called large enterprise or data center. These are called light speed firewalls, and the form factor that you get is 2 rack units. And these are the models basically that starts with the 28x, 26x, and 16200 series, right? Now you get interfaces are almost the same on all the type of deployments, but sometimes somewhere you might get an extra type of interface. For example, here you can see the 25 Gbps. Now here you don't have it. Like, then the firewall throughput is what matters, right? If you see the scalable platform, it goes up to 1500 Gbps. Now the data center would be a bit less on comparing to that one, but it still has a throughput from 78 to 800 Gbps. And the special features are you can get 25, 40, and 100 Gbps GB Ethernet ports. Now you have the DC power as well as LOM. Now next deployment type that I want to talk about is the enterprise. So for example, for the enterprise, they have a solution, and the deployment solution is called enterprise. Now for the enterprises, they have form factor of 1 rack unit, and the series that starts for the enterprise is from the 7000 series, 6900 series, 6700, 66, 64, 62. Now interfaces that you get is 110 and 40 GB Ethernet ports, and then you have the firewall throughput that ranges from 9 to 48 Gbps. You have flexible IO options and LOM. Deployment for the now that you say you have a branch office or a small office deployment, which is also called the branch or small office. Form factor is desktop, which means it can be put anywhere. It's like you have the home routers, but a bit more sophisticated in that sense, and size will also be a bit larger than those that we have in the at home, right? The series that starts is from 3800, 3600, 1800, 1600, and 1500. And interface that you get is 1 GB Ethernet. Wi-Fi you have here. If you see, you have the DSL connectivity, you have the 3G, 4G, and LTE connectivity as well. Now, if you talk about the throughput, it will be obviously lesser than all of the above, but it has a throughput of 1 to 7.5 Gbps. Special features you have is web management. The last one that I want to talk about is the rugged one, which is basically to deploy in a harsh environment, and the deployment is also called harsh environment, or you can say outdoor. So if you want to hang them over some towers or out of the building or something like that, maybe for army purpose as well. Uh, the form factor that is basically a desktop, DIN and wall mount. You can mount them on the wall as well. Interfaces that you get is 1 GB Ethernet, 3G, 4G, and LTE support. The firewall throughput would be limited to 4 Gbps. Special features would be AC and DC power. And then the series is basically from the 1570R series. Okay, so those were all, the security gateway types that you get. Now talking about the Quantum Master, which is basically a hyperscale security orchestration appliance, right? So you can see the appliance like this. It looks like this, and then if you go to the series, it is basically here. You can see they have the 6600 series, which ranges from 33.7 Gbps to 150 Gbps, and then you have the 7000 from 9.5 Gbps to 475 Gbps. And the 16600 series ranges from 17 Gbps to 850 Gbps. The 28600 ranges from 30 Gbps to 1.5 terabytes per second. It's a huge, difference between the 16600 to 28600. Okay, now talking about the quantum light speed, this is the firewalls, hyper fast, ultra low latency firewalls. The model starts with QLS, quantum light speed, and then the model number, right? 250, 450, 650, and then 800. Now we will look into the differences between them. If you go, they are all inclusive security packages. You will get all the features that we spoke about for the firewalls, and also the sandblast. Talking about the comparison between them, if you look on the throughput side, you will see a difference on them. You can see it's in Gbps, so 250 Gbps for 250, 450 Gbps for 450 model, 650 Gbps for 650 model, and 796 Gbps throughput for 800 model. The latency is similar for all of them, and then you have the accelerated 100 GB ports. 250 gets only 2. The 450 gets 4 ports. Likewise, 650 gets 6, and 800 gets 8 ports. 10 GBP ports, you have 8 on all of them, and then you have the memory, which is only 128 GB on the 250. Apart from that, all others have 192 GB. Now you get, for the power supplies, you have RPS on all of them, and this is hot swipe. Then you have the storage, you have 2 into 960 GB SSD on all of them, and then the lights out management is available on all of them. Now moving next to the enterprise high-end threat prevention series, which starts with 2800 and 2600. If we go and look on the, now feature wise, you will get all the other features as well, the sandblast. Then if you go with the threat prevention, the GBPS, in the GBPS, if you see for the threat prevention, you have 28 GBPS, and on the 28,000 you have 30 GBPS. So there's a 6 Gbps difference between 2600 series and the 2800 series. Then the next generation with IPS, if you see, it is 40 Gbps on the 26,000 series and 51 Gbps on the 28,000 series. Right, now talking about the 1 Gbp ports, that the copper ports that you get, you have up to 66x ports on these two, and 110 and 40 and 100 or 125 Gbps GB ports, you get up to 32x ports in here, or you can get 32 10 GB Ethernet, or 16x 40 GB Ethernet, or 16x 100 or 25 GB Ethernet ports. Now you have IO expansions. It's similar on both. You have 8 slots if you want to expand. Then you have memory, same as 128 GB. You have 2 into 480 GB SSD on the storage side. Then you have the power supply, which is 3x into RPS. I mean 3 redundant power supplies, which are hot swappable, and also the light out management, which is there on all the products. Now talking about the large enterprise threat prevention, we have the 16,000 series, which is called the Quantum 16200. Similarly, they have all the features like other firewalls and the sandblast. Apart from that, you can look into the threat prevention throughput, which is 15 Gbps, and then you have the next generation capabilities with IPS, which is only 27 as compared to the higher end appliances, right? And then you have the 1 GB Ethernet ports, copper, which is up to 34. And then if you talk about the 10, 40, 100 or 25 GB, you have 16, 16 and 40 is only 8x, or you can have 8x of the 10 or 25 GB Ethernet ports. Expansion slots, you have 4 here, and RAM is 128 GB, sorry. And then you have the storage, which is similar to the earlier one, for 2 into 480 GB SSD. The RPS is 2 here, compared to the last one, which was 3, but it's again hot swap, and lights out management is also there in this series. Now coming back to the 7000 series, these are also the enterprise threat prevention, Quantum 7000. And coming back to the numbers, threat prevention is 9.5 Gbps, and the next generation with IPS capabilities is 22 Gbps. You get 26 1 GB Ethernet copper ports. You get 10 GB ports which are fiber, 8 numbers, and if you want 40 GB Ethernet port fiber, you get 4 of them. RAM is limited to 64 GB here, and the storage is similar to what we had in the above appliance, which is 2 into 480 GB SSD. And the redundant power supply, you have 2 of them, which is again hot swappable, and lights out management. Now coming back to the small to mid enterprise threat prevention, which is the 6000 series, you have these product lines: 6200, 6600 and 6900. Now we will do a side-by-side comparison of all these. Now on the threat prevention, the 6200 has 1.8 Gbps, 6400 has 2.5 Gbps, 6600 has 3.7 Gbps, 6700 has 5.8 Gbps, and 6900 has 7.4 Gbps. And the next generation with the IPS capabilities are 3.72 Gbps, 5.5, 6.2, 1.3 and 17 respectively, right? Now coming back to the ports, 1 GB Ethernet ports you are getting here in copper is 18 for the first 4 and 26 for the 6900, and 1 GB ports for fiber you're getting 4 for the first 4 and 8 on the 6900. Similarly, 10 GB Ethernet fiber ports, you get 4 here on these 4 and 8 on the 6900. RAM is limited to 32 GB on these 4 models, and the last one gets 64 GB. Storage is 1 into 240 for these 3, and then 1 into 480 GB SSD for the 6700, then 2 into 480 for the 6900, and all of them get the redundant power supply. Now this is not hot swappable. And then you have the lights out management there as well. And then you coming back to the enterprise security for branch offices. These are the smaller ones as compared to what we have been through the slide. So we have the 3000 series, which consists of the Quantum 3600 and the 3800. Now if you look at the numbers here, the threat prevention basically ranges to 780 Mbps, and for this one it is 1.5 Gbps. Next generation with IPS, you have 1.5 Gbps here, and 3800 gets 3 Gbps. VPN throughput, you get 2.7 Gbps, and this one is 2.75 Gbps, so almost similar there. RAM, one of them, which is the 3600, gets 8 GB, 3800 gets the double, which is 16 GB. Now we get 6 1 GB copper ports on both of these models. You have 1 into 240 GB SSD storage on both of them. The form factor is desktop for the four of them, both of them, and then the power consumption max is 24.2 watts. Now, for the small and medium business network security, you have another product line which is called the Quantum Spark, which is the 1600 and the 1800 series. If we look down at the numbers, the threat prevention is 1.5 Gbps on the 1600, whereas it is 2 Gbps on the 1800. Next gen firewall plus IPS is 3.2 Gbps on the 1600 and 5 Gbps on the 1800. The LAN ports that you get is 16 into 1 GB copper ports. Here also you get 16 into 1 GB copper, plus you get 2 into 2.5 GB Ethernet copper ports. WAN ports, you get one fiber or copper, or here you get 2 of them. DMZ port, you get one here, and here which is 1 GB Ethernet, and here you get 10 GB into one port. Power supply is not redundant here, 60 on the 1600, but on the 1800 you have redundant. Storage, if you see, you get an eMMC 32 GB here, plus you get a 64 GB micro SD card option here. On the other hand, if you look into the 1800, it gets a 32 GB eMMC plus 256 GB SSD option. Moving back to the desktop form, which is the small office security, which is the 1500 series. This is how it looks like. You get the Wi-Fi option as well on these. Coming back to the number, the threat prevention is 340 Mbps on the 1500, 450 on the 1550. 1530 gets 340 and 1550 gets 450 Mbps. So these are all in the Mbps range, not, I mean, below 1 GB. 1570 gets 500 Mbps and 1590 gets 660 Mbps on the threat prevention side. Now, if you look under the NGFW plus the IPS, it has 600 on the 1530, 1550 gets 800 Mbps, 1570 gets 970 Mbps, and 1590 gets 1300 Mbps. So you can say 1.3 GB. The ports that you get, 1 GB Ethernet ports, you're getting one a WAN on 1530 and 1550, and 5 LAN ports, which is the LAN switch on these two, 1530 and 1550. On the 1570 and 1590, you have one WAN, one DMZ, and 8x LAN switch, and one for the DMZ you get one into 1000 base SFP port for the 1570 and the 1590, whereas you don't get the ports on the 1530 and 1550 for DMZ. Now you have Wi-Fi options on both. The 1530 and 1550 gets 802.11 BGN and supports BGN and AC bands, one band for 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. So you can choose, you cannot run both at the same time. Now here, if you see on the 1570 and 1590, you have the 802.11 NAC, which gets the dual band, so you can run both of them at simultaneously, the 2.4 and the 5 gigs. Now DSL option doesn't come in the 1530 and the 1550. You get the DSL option in the 1570 and the 1590 series. LTE option also is not provided in the 1530 and the 1550, but you get these on the 1570 and the 1590. Mobile access users, you can have by default 100 on the 1530 and the 1550, while as you get 200 on the 1570 and the 1590. So there's the difference. Now the last one, that is the rugged quantum security for harsh environments, right? And these are the quantum rugged 1570R series, and you can see how it looks like. And the numbers, if you talk about, threat prevention is 400 Mbps, and throughput for the NGFW is 700 Mbps. WAN, you get 1 into either 10 or 100 or 1000 base T RJ45, or 1 into 1000 base F port. Either you can go for the RJ45 Ethernet ports, or you can go for the fiber ports, but only one of them. So you have to choose for the WAN as well as for the DMZ, right? Moving on, the LAN, you have 8 into again 1000, 100 or 10 MB RJ45 only. So here you don't have the option for fiber. Now for the mount options, you have DIN rail or wall mount. You can mount these on the wall. Certifications, you have industrial, maritime, rugged, shock and vibration, IP30 IP rating already. The certifications have been acquired for these. So these can I mean, withstand harsh environments, temperature of ranging from -40 degrees Fahrenheit to +160 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can just put them anywhere outside, right? And then coming back to the last one, basically, which is the virtual appliances. So you do have the virtual appliance option as well, which you can go and deploy in the DCs or on cloud, whether it's a public cloud like an AWS or GCP or Microsoft Azure or Oracle or Alibaba, whatever you want, you have that option, right? And then these are the providers that you can go for, right? Oracle, Alibaba, VMware Cloud on AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, AWS Web Services. And then you have the option to deploy them on the private IaaS security, I mean the private cloud side as well, which the providers could be Cisco, ACI, VMware, NSX, OpenStack, Virtual Edition, and GFW. So that was the virtual firewall, or you can say virtual appliance part of it. And then moving back, you have the quantum smart one, which is basically the SMS, the smart managers, right? These are the options that you have: 600S, 600M, 6000L, and then you have the 6000XL, right? So these basically help you to manage multiple gateways from a single point, right? Centralized management, you can say. So if you look at the numbers, these can leverage quantum smart one appliances to manage from 5 to 5000 gateways, right, depending on the model that you purchase. Now if you look into these comparisons, the managed gateways that you can manage on these devices, for example, for 600S you can manage 10 devices. Now for 600M you can go up to 50, while as on 6000L the number goes up to 150, and on 6000XL it can be 400 plus. And the maximum domains that you get here is on 600S and M, they don't support this, but L and XL you can get 50 and 200 respectively. Peak log session, so you can enable the logging on this so that they can collect the logs from all the gateways, and you can have a centralized point of logging as well. And these support like 70,000 logs per second for 600S, while as it supports 90,000 logs per second for 600M. And if you look on the L and XL, this number ranges from 1,50,000 to 3 lakh logs per second. So there you can see the difference, right? Sustained indexes, indexed logs sections, logs per second. If you see, you have the numbers here, and then you can have a log size per day, which is in GB. And then the storage, if you look, you have 1 into 2 to 2 TB HDD. So these are the hard drives, not SSD. Then you have here 2 into 4 TB HDD, which is equivalent to 8 TBs, right? Then you have 12 into 4 TB HDD on the 6000L, and 12 into 4 TB SSD on the 6000XL. So there the I mean the storage is in SSD. The RAM, which basically will result in improved performance, right? Then RAM here you get on the 600S 32 GB, you get 64 GB on the 600M, you get 192 GB on the 6000L, and you get 384 GB on the 6000XL. And the power supply, you don't get a RPS on the 600S, while you get RPS on all other three models, which are 600M, L, and 6000L and 6000XL. Then talking about the DDoS protector, so Checkpoint has a separate product for the DDoS protection. If you want only to implement the Checkpoint protection, you can do that. You have a multi-layered protections in place, application based DDoS, or DDoS, I mean distributed denial of services, right? The DDoS attacks are a very easy and effective attack that hackers and attackers on the internet are using this, which can affect the productivity and the sales of the company. So this is something that companies look forward to mitigate or take care of before it can even occur, right? So these are the product lines that you can see here. These are the models. So if you go here, mitigation on the bandwidth, which is gbps per second, you have 6 gbps, 20 gbps, 60 gbps, 110 gbps, 200, 220. That's why you have the model number mentioned based on the mitigation bandwidth. Okay, now if you look on the max DDoS flood attack rates, this can have around 5.8 million attacks that it can handle, right? Flood attacks on the model 6, and then this is 25 million on both 60 and 20 model, and then this is 50 million on 110 model and 30 million on the 200 model. 220 can handle up to 146 million uh, attacks, and then you have the 330 on the 400 model. Now on the SSL and TLS, you have 20k on the 6 model, 95k on the 20, and 95 same on the 60 model, and then 110 can handle up to 150k. And this is almost similar, right? So you get 150 here as well as 150 here, I guess, I suppose the dash means that, and 220 also 150k. The latency is similar, which is 60 microseconds, less than that. And then you have network operations. This is basically a transparent L2 forwarding or IP forwarding, so you don't need to do any changes on the networking side. This will be transparent for the L2 as well as for the L3 layer. So this is basically deployed inline. If you see on the next line, deployment mode is inline or span port or copy port, you can say, and hybrid cloud scrubbing center option. You do have that. Ports that you get here is 8 into RJ45 and 2 into 1 GB or 10 GB on the 6 model, and on the 20 model you get 24 into 1 or 10 GB Ethernet. On the 60 you get 24 into 10, 8 into 40, and 4 into 100 GB Ethernet. On the 110 you get 20 into 10, 4 into 40, and 4 into 100 GB Ethernet. And then you have on these 200 and 220 you get similar 24 into 10 and for 8 into 40 GB and 4 into 100 GB Ethernet ports. And then on 400 you get 20 into 10 GB ports. Then you have 4 into 40 GB ports and 4 into 100 GB ports. Now the enclosure that you get is 1U for the 6 model, and apart from that all others get a 2U enclosure. So that was the DDoS protector from Checkpoint. Now moving on to the Sandblast appliance, you can have private cloud and zero-day threat prevention taken care by these Sandblast appliances. This will basically stop new and unknown threats. Threat emulation and threat extraction is what we call. You have seen this in the slides above. Now these two are the models, TE 2000XN and 28VM, and this is T2000XN 56VM. Now unique files per hour that it can handle is for 28 VM it's 5000, and the 56 VM can get handle 8000 files per hour. Number of virtual machines 28 here and 56 here. 100G QSFP, you get 2 here and 2 on both basically. 100G or sorry, 10 MB, 100 MB and 1000 MB base T RJ45s that you get is 2 on both. Memory is similar, 128 GB on both. LOM, both have the support for that. Enclosure, both are going with 1U. Storage is also again similar, 1 into 2 TB SSD, and RPS is the option on both, which is dual and hot swappable on both. So that was the Sandblast appliance that you can get on the Quantum side. Now that was all the I mean product line that the Checkpoint has, which is named rebranded as Quantum, and different I mean based on different requirements they have solutions for that, and you can go through the slide later on to get more insight on that. Now Checkpoint has a proven security record, and that is being um, um, shown in the Gartner Leader 2020 Network Firewall Management Quadrant. And also in 2021, they were named as the leader in the network firewalls. And this is the 22nd time that the company, in the company history, it has been named as a leader by Gartner. So that tells a lot about Checkpoint, right? So this is one of the major firewall providers or the vendors that are leading the market. So yeah, so that was all on the appliance side and the product line of Checkpoint. Hope you understood this, and you can go through the slide. We will be attaching this in the resources. That's it for this lecture. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye.